Hi friends. I have to apologize. I am 3 minutes late. It is Thursday at 4 p.m. I did a bonus episode yesterday of Getting Tipsy and it messed me up because I've been here all day just busting along, getting my work done, and I'm very excited because I bought myself a birthday present and I'm getting ready to open up my new MacBook. And I'm sitting here getting ready to open it up, and I was all excited, and then all of a sudden I realized it was like 3:57. So I forgot that I had an episode scheduled for today. So it is Thursday at 4 p.m., which means it is time for Getting Tipsy. So I'm going to do my typical getting this over on a watch party. And then as soon as I do that, I will, I'm going to turn the volume down so you don't hear me. As soon as I get that headed over, then I will, I can't believe I almost forgot about that. I literally was just doing other things. I've really gotten a bunch of stuff done today. It's been great. So today is actually one of my favorite topics, especially right now in this market. We're going to talk about escalation clauses. So what is an escalation clause and what to consider before including it in your offer? Have you heard of an escalation clause? Does it sound like I'm speaking a completely foreign language? Feel free to send a funny emoji or a weird whatever bitmoji. If you're here, if you're joining me, if you're watching on the business page, you can comment, say hi. I'll see it right here on the screen. If you're watching on my personal page, you can comment below, and I will check in on the computer and see before I get off. If you're watching the replay, feel free to comment as well, and I will see you there. And if you have questions, ask them, and I would love to answer them. But again, today, Getting Tipsy, we are talking about escalation clauses. It's one of my favorite things, one of my favorite tools, especially in this market right now with multiple offers. I don't feel like they're being used enough. I don't think people understand them, and they don't want to take the time to explain them. I have a couple tricks with them. But what is an escalation clause and what to consider before including it in your offer? So, buyers are finding themselves in competitive offer situations. And, the real estate contract, there's a couple different things you can include to make your offer more competitive. So an escalation clause, everyone thinks I'm just going to offer more price, right? Throw out more price. Well, you don't want to throw away your money, right? And that's sort of one of the scary things. Let's say the house is listed at $350. So yeah, you can come in at, we could go in at $350, but there's gonna be multiple offers. So do you offer, hi Tony, do you offer $354? Sure. But then are you just giving away $4,000? Do you know that someone else is gonna come in above list price? You don't know. But are you anxious? Are you thinking, okay, well maybe offer $360? Now did you give away $10,000? You don't know. So what is an escalation? How does an escalation clause work? So what you can do, an escalation clause, you basically say, I'm offering you a price of X. If another offer comes in that equals X, I'm willing to increase my offer by Y. It's a little bit more complicated than that. You basically give them an amount that they can increase your offer by. There's another way you can do it where you increase your offer by a certain amount to increase their net, which is different than the sales price. You increase your sales price to change their net. And in that case, you need to see the other offer. And the way the escalation clause in our market is, so if you're watching this outside of Hampton Roads, but the way our market is, the buyer can request to see the competing offer that forced their escalation clause to be taken in to account. So you can see and make sure that someone else had another offer that forced yours to be pushed up. So for example, let's say I offered, again, let's use the sales price of $350. Let's say, you know, this house is on the market for $350. I'm going to offer $350. Let's say I'm going to offer $350 and ask for $5,000 in closing costs. And then Erin, that's what I'm offering as a buyer, $350 with $5,000 in closing costs. And then Bob Smith is offering $355 with no closing cost. But then I offer an escalation clause to say I will increase my net until I'm $1,000 above. Increase my sales price until I'm $1,000 above that net. Well, you have to remember something. I'm already $5,000 in the hole because I've asked for $5,000 in closing cost. So now I've got to go up by $5,000 plus the $5,000 he's already above me. So that means I got to go up by 10, right? So now I'm at $360. So that in order to beat him, I've got to get a sales price of $360. But then I've also got to still beat him. So now I'm $361. So that's sort of, if that makes sense, that's an escalation clause. If anyone has any questions, if you're on here, ask your questions. If you have questions later, you can DM me and I answer that. Another thing that I have a tendency to do with that, because you also sometimes want to protect your appraisal value. So another thing that I have started doing in this market is I will go up in sales price to a certain point, and then I will cap that sales price, and then I will decrease closing cost assistance if my buyer can afford their own closing cost assistance. That way I protect their closing cost assistance if I can, because you want to keep their cash in their pocket if I can. But if I can't, and that's a way to win them the house, then we do. So if that makes sense. And it's just a creative way to put them in a position where they're able to win the house in a multiple offer situation. So essentially what you do is you put them in the bargaining seat where they can win in multiple offers, but they're not necessarily showing their hand, or they're not giving away their money when they don't have to. And they force the seller to have to prove that they had someone else that had a better offer. Now, that being said, the downfall to it is the seller doesn't have to take that. Part of the contracts when there are multiple offers, the seller doesn't have to take the best offer financially just because it's the best offer financially. So they may say, great, it's an escalation clause, but the other person presented the best offer anyway, so I'm just going to go with the one that had the best offer, not the one that put in the escalation clause. So that would be a reason to maybe not consider an escalation clause if you just want to put out your money. But that's a decision your buyer has to make, or you as the buyer has to make. But for me, I always like to talk to my buyers about that as an option to put yourself in a position to win the multiple offers, but not necessarily giving away your money unnecessarily, if that makes sense. So again, escalation clauses, I think it's a great way to give you some leverage on the table to put yourself above the other offers, but without giving your money away unnecessarily. So if anyone has any questions about escalation clauses, I love them. I love to talk about them. I'm happy to sit down and write it out for you if that makes more sense. I can play with Monopoly money and show you that way as well. I have spreadsheets for them. I can show you how I have received them in listings, and I can explain it that way as well. So I hope everyone has a great day. Happy Thursday. It's going to be a wonderful weekend. Hopefully, I'm surprised it's not pouring down rain. I feel like it's rained every day at 4 here in Virginia Beach. And we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.